I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work and are backed by science. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. We use only top-of-the-line formulations dosed for maximum results and the best flavoring systems available. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Dave Palumbo here with an RxMuscle rant. Okay guys, I know the title probably got you winded already. You're probably wondering what the heck's going on. Well, here's the story. So I probably have told the story before, but a couple years ago I was going for a routine cardiac CT scan to check my blood vessels and see how they're doing, and they were great. They were perfectly clear, no blockages, no calcium, but they found that my aorta, which is the main vessel that comes out of your heart, which pumps the blood to your entire body, was enlarged. And they call that an aortic aneurysm. So I had it assessed, and it was a certain size, which was pretty large. And what they do, when they determine that, and I had 1 million scans done just because I'm completely neurotic about that kind of stuff, because obviously if your aorta ruptures or dissects, as they call it, dissecting aorta, you can die. You can bleed out and die. And they said, we're going to keep an eye on this and track it. So the last couple of years I've been getting it tracked. First it was 6 months, then it was yearly, and it's been pretty stable, so which is good. So I went for my yearly scan to see how it's doing, and it was fine. It was stable. It actually got a little smaller. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And then they wanted to check my aortic valve, which sometimes can get disrupted when you have a big aorta. So I went for an ultrasound of that. And when they did that, it came back fine. They found I had a little nodule on my thyroid gland. Now, people get nodules all the time. It's like one of the most common things. So I said, all right, fine. I went for an ultrasound of my thyroid gland, and it came back highly suspicious. Now, they grade these things like from a 1 to a 5, essentially, to make it simplistic. And I was a 5, which is the worst. Highly suspicious, meaning that the actual nodule there was growing longer. It wasn't just perfectly round, it was growing longer and had some calcifications on it. And they recommend a needle biopsy, which is they stick a needle in your neck basically, and they take some cells out and they see what's in there. Is it cancerous or not? Now, usually when you're in the highly suspicious category, it very well could be cancer of the thyroid, and so that's troublesome. So here I am, I'm not panicking at this point, okay, because there's no reason to. It's not going to do anything. I don't have any negative symptoms. I don't feel bad. The nodule is very small. It's 10 millimeters. Usually they don't even do a needle biopsy unless you're at that level. Usually most people's are much bigger than that. So I say, well, what's the next step? I got to get this needle biopsy done. I call an endocrinologist because I got to make an appointment, because my cardiologist is the guy who sent me for the original tests. Now I got to get an endocrinologist. But in Fort Myers, Cape Coral, there's only like a handful of endocrinologists. And the main guy that was highly recommended, who's been around forever, doesn't take any new clients. So can you imagine this? The doctor doesn't take any more patients. So I call the office, leave a message, playing phone tag, getting back and forth. They call me up. They were going to actually schedule me. And then he's like, well, I told him, I said, I'd like to get in and see the doctor. And he's like, well, what's going on? And I tell him, and they're like, oh, he's not taking any more. In other words, I'm too complicated of a case. They don't even want me. So I call another doctor in the area. This guy wants to do like a telemedicine. Like he wants to do an online consult with me. I'm like, what's that? I want the guy to feel my thyroid gland and talk to me in person. So obviously that's not going to work. And then there's another guy who they scheduled me for, listen to this, May 28th. They want me to wait 3 months. And I have a highly suspicious nodule growing on my thyroid. I could be freaking dead by then for all they know. The medical establishment is so effed up that it drives me out of my mind how they can, you know what, if your case is too complicated, we don't want to deal with you. And if we do deal with you, we'll see you in 6 months. Because maybe you'll be dead by then, so we don't have to freaking see you. What a bunch of morons. The health system in this country is crazy, and I pay a fortune for health insurance for myself and my family. It's nuts what we pay. And then we still have deductibles on top of that. It costs a fortune, everything we do. And I'm not afraid to pay for it. I'll pay for this. I can't, so at this point, I'm getting angry, and I'm thinking, I could have cancer, and I'm like getting angry. That's not good. I gotta calm down. So I think, and I remember, I don't remember, I know, but it was in the back of my head, a very good friend of mine that I went to school with from like kindergarten up, my friend Lenny Thaler. We went through school together. He went to Cornell. I went to Franklin and Marshall College. That's when we kind of split apart. But I used to go visit him up in Cornell. Then he went to Albert Einstein School of Medicine, which was in the Bronx. I was in New York Medical College. We were literally down the block from each other. We used to hang out a lot. And then he went and did his residency at Emory, and then we kind of, we didn't lose touch. We would email back and forth. He became an endocrinologist, and he's actually in Miami, which is 3 hours to me, but it's Florida, whatever. And so I said, you know what, I got to call Lenny up. I got to call the guilt friendship. I sent him an email. I said, Lenny, this is what's going on. What do you think I should do? He's like, get the films for me. So I got my films. I sent them. I'll even put a picture up because he actually looked at the films. He said, sometimes people read these films wrong. Let's take a look. He read the films, but he said, you know what? It does look suspicious. He goes, you got to get a needle biopsy. I said, Lenny, I can't get an appointment with an endocrinologist anywhere around here. How am I? He's like, come to my office. We do them there. So Wednesday, I'm going to his office. I'm driving to Miami. I don't care because now I got VIP service because we used to hang out together all the time. We played soccer together. We played video games, Dungeons and Dragons. That's my boy, man. He's gonna take good care of his friend David, from school. So I'm going to see him on Wednesday. Hopefully I'll be able to videotape the whole thing. And he's got to stick a needle in my neck 5-6 times to take out some cells, and then they're going to send it off to the pathology lab, and they'll see if it is indeed cancer. I don't want to have cancer. I always said that I would never have cancer. I'm not allowing it into my wheelhouse. My mother died of cancer. My grandfather and grandmother, that whole side of the family all died of cancer. I said I was not allowing cancer into my life. But for some reason, I think I need to confront cancer. We have to have a discussion. Now, if you're going to get cancer, thyroid cancer is probably the best one to get because it is very curable. It's like a 98% cure rate. The thing that stinks is that they would have to take my thyroid gland out, and I'd have to go on replacement therapy. Now, if someone like Boston Lloyd would enjoy that, but that's not something I'm obviously looking forward to. But if it comes down to that, then I'll have to do it. But thank God I have a friend, because this medical establishment is so backwards in this country that it really is disgusting. And that's what the rant's about. The rant wasn't to say I have cancer, because I don't know if I do. And if I do, I'm going to deal with it, and you guys will be along for the journey. Once again, the reason I also mention this is that probably, and you can talk to my wife, and Amanda will tell you this, no one eats better than I do. No one takes more vitamins and supplements. No one takes better care of themselves, aside from the fact that I don't sleep at night because I have 3 young kids. I'm a perfectionist. I'm like as anal as I was about being the best bodybuilder and the biggest guy and eating all my food and training. That's how I am with nutrition and supplementation. And you guys know that all the products I produce from Species Nutrition. And I do everything pretty much that you could possibly do to stay healthy. And I could be, once again, a victim to my genetics. My mom, I believe, had thyroid cancer that was removed. It's hard to get. I don't have any recollection of it. I think I was too young. She didn't die of that. She died many years later of pancreatic cancer. But so that's always in the back of my head, obviously, as well. But we are sometimes a victim of our genetics. The key is to get these checkups. And luckily, by the grace of God, maybe my mother watching over me, we caught this thing early on a routine scan, because I have no symptoms of it whatsoever. I don't feel it. I don't even know it's there. It's buried inside my thyroid gland. And it's funny because it turns out my friend Lenny, when he looked at the scan, the images, he actually found another mini nodule that was in the other, because your thyroid has 2 lobes, in the other lobe, that they didn't even notice, that the radiologist never even picked up on the ultrasound. So it just goes to show you the competency of some of these people out there. Thank God I have a good friend who will hopefully be protecting my interests. moving forward. But guys, like I say, I repeat myself over and over because we have a ton of deaths and people getting sick. You got to, if you have symptoms or anything, you got to get routinely checked out because you never know. Like I said, thank God, someone pointed this out to me and I got the right test and it just happened to pop up so I can address it aggressively. But you just never know. And you can't predict, and you can do everything right, and sometimes things go wrong and you get sick. I mean, I don't think anyone anticipated getting COVID, right? There's plenty of people that are perfectly healthy. They get hit with COVID, they get hammered. There's nothing that you can do. All you can do is try your hardest. It's no one's fault. You can't lay blame. Now, if you don't take care of yourself and you smoke and you're overweight, then it's your own fault. But you can only do so much. You can't beat yourself up about it, and that's what I realized. So I will be keeping you guys updated on what's going on. Like I said, next Wednesday I'll be out in Miami and I'll be getting my needle stuck in my neck. And hopefully my friend Lenny will let us videotape it because I know you guys like to watch that kind of stuff. I know I do. I find it interesting. So, and you'll get to meet one of my childhood friends. Maybe my other friend Michael Poppy will meet us over there. Just for shits and giggles. You never know. All right, guys. Dave Palumbo here once again with another RxMuscle rant.